What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and to let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week: Assorted Crisis Events, issue number 3 from Image Comics. Now, this is written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Eric Zawadzki, and this book for 3 issues so far has been one of my favorite books of 2025. Dennis Camp has a really interesting concept here for this series. He's able to tell personal stories, grounded, emotionally rooted, resonating stories in the midst of a giant crisis event. So think about crisis events like DC Crisis on Infinite Earths, or Infinite Crisis, or Final Crisis, or Crisis 89 130th time, right? Think about those kind of events, but think about what that looks like from an average Joe's perspective, right? We're talking about giant epic crisis events, but stories being told on a mundane level. But the emotional resonance of each issue is anything but mundane. Each issue is also a one-and-done, self-contained story, but part of this larger world. In issue number 3, we get the story of 2 different cities, one on one Earth, one on another Earth, right? And the name of the city is Hearth, so like Earth, but like with an H. So there's Hearth 1 and there's Hearth 2, and both worlds are ending, but one is ending in a different, more quick and rapid way and pace than the other. And what happens is that some of the residents of this town from Hearth 2 wind up in Hearth 1, and what starts as lovingly accepting themselves into their fold and protection turns rotten from the inside out. It's a really interesting story. The artwork is stellar and superb. The layout, the way the story is structured, each page represents a perspective of one of the cities, but both pages parallel each other in composition, in layout, in theme, and yes, in resonance. This book was absolutely fire. It was amazing. One of my favorite single issues of the year so far. I thought Assorted Crisis Events issue number 1 was great. I thought issue number 2 was damn near pitch perfect. Issue number 3, right up there with issue number 2, splendidly awesome. It makes you think. It plays with comic book tropes and concepts, and it plays with structure in the storytelling. This is what it looks like when people are making comics that love comics. Assorted Crisis Events issue number 3, your pick of the week. Also from Image Comics this week, we got Dark Honor issue number 1. This one's kind of okay. It's created and written by KS Bruce and Brian DeCube Ellis, and it's adapted by Ethan Sachs. So I think this was originally a movie script or something like that that was written at the beginning of COVID. They say, and there's a little bit of back matter here where they say they wanted this story to remind people what it was like in the early days of COVID. I know that we are 5 years removed from that, but you know what? I don't need any recollection or remembrance to feel the way it felt back in the day. Anyway, that being said, this story is kind of like heisty. It's crime fiction. It's dealing with the early days of COVID, and to be honest with you, like, it's kind of over that, right? So, like, I don't know, man. It didn't really do too much for me, and just not even just the COVID stuff. And I'm not saying that people can't play with the idea of the year of the pandemic and all that stuff and set a story during that era. That's really cool, but, like, I just feel like, man, so much of that has been done to death over the last 5 years. Like, is this different? Is it new? And aside from that, strip all that away, it's just a rather mediocre comic book that doesn't really have compelling characters, doesn't really have an enticing concept. It's just kind of there. It's just kind of okay. All right, but then we got G.I. Joe, issue number 7. I'm loving what Josh Williamson is doing in the pages of the Energon Universe's G.I. Joe. So we kick off a new arc here in issue number 7. 1 through 6 was spectacular. It was awesome. It was setting up Duke's G.I. Joe team, their first confrontation with Cobra. It had a great climax, and now what do? We go back to another side of the story. If you remember, and this was revealed in the Energon Free Comic Book Day special, not this year, but last year, that they're also putting together like a secret missions G.I. Joe team, right? Maybe a Night Force or something, right? But this issue is mostly focused in on Beachhead, so you get Beachhead entering the Energon universe. It's his story, but he is going to be a part of this other Joe team, and I love that they're getting back to that, the Joes that Duke and the rest don't know about. Here in the pages of G.I. Joe issue number 7, if you're a fan of Beachhead like I am, rejoice. It's a great issue. We got a guest artist here, Andrea Milana, who I believe was the artist on the Scarlet series written by Kelly Thompson. So G.I. Joe number 7 was pretty solid. Also from the Energon universe, we have Void Rivals issue number 19. This is a story that is focused in on the character Skuxoid. Who's that pig-type character? I asked some friends, because yes, I'm a big fan of Transformers. I love the toys. I love the original animated series, and especially that original animated movie. But I don't know all the lore in and out. I haven't watched every single episode, and if I have, I don't remember them. But there, I think, are some new abilities and origins and points of reference given to the character of Skuxoid here. I was asking some friends, and they were like, "Yeah, I don't recall that being a part of his story." So some really interesting things being played with here. We also got the Junkians making their appearances, including Rekgar, and I can totally hear Eric Idle's voice when I read this comic. 100%. So it's still tied into the Energon universe, yet it's doing its own thing. We also have the debut of a new artist, Connor Hughes. The regular artist, Lorenzo De Felice, has left the series. He only did the first 18 issues, but honestly, until I read that in the back, written by Kirkman, there was a little bit of back matter there talking about that, I didn't even notice. Honestly, what a perfect artist. Connor Hughes comes in, and it's like we don't even miss a beat. It's consistent. It's still got the same energy. It's still got the same weight on the lines. Really, really solid stuff. Void Rivals continues, along with the rest of the Energon universe, to be rather special, and I think significant in the industry right now. Then we get Hyde Street issue number 6 from Ghost Machine, but not tied into the unnamed universe with Geiger and Junkyard Joe and Redcoat, right? This is a separate thing. Hyde Street, it's the story about these entities who get on this street and they have to trap 10,000 souls on the street in order to get out of the street. It's interesting. It's Jeff Johns playing with some horror tropes, and it's been interesting. It's been cool. A lot of interesting and unique and wacky characters in this series so far. And here we are at issue number 6, which you could imagine being the end of the first trade paperback. And we have all these characters that have been set up, and now we're getting a little bit more movement in the progression of the overall narrative of this story, telling a story through Mr. X-Ray's perspective again, for the first time, I think, since like issue number 1. So that's interesting. I like the structure of the story. The only problem is Ivan Reis is done. For now, I think he might be coming back next issue, but Francis Portela is the artist here, and it's fine, but it's definitely, unlike Void Rivals, a bit inconsistent and jarring when you jump into this issue and you're like, yo, where'd our dude go? But you know what? It happens. What can you do? But Hyde Street still has some interesting concepts to play with. Then we've got Feral issue number 13th. Feral, the 13th issue, appropriate for the alternate variant cover by Tony Fleece and Alan Pasalacqua, or Alacoa, by Tony and Alan. It's an homage to Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Pretty freaking cool cover. Not the cover of the week, but definitely in the running for cover of the week. Plus, Feral is just one of my favorite books. I adore this book. I cherish this book. Cats. It's a book about cats. No, they're not musical cats, but I wouldn't be against a musical issue. I don't know how you would do that. Maybe Tony and Tone and Trish could like sing some songs, release them on Spotify, and we can like listen to that as we read the issue. Tony, I'm giving you that idea for free. I think you should go for it. That being said, Feral number 13 is great. So it's a book about cats trying to survive what is structured and told very much like a zombie apocalypse, right? And it's like a rabies outbreak or something like that, but it's zombies, okay? So it's about these cats. I already love cats, and yes, I am an animal lover. But I love cats so much, and my emotional heartstrings get tugged at so significantly by Tony Fleece and the team here in Feral every damn time. So there is a pet store right there, and the cats know that if they can get past all these zombie animals, they can make it into this pet store, and they got all the food they want, they got all the toys they want, they got shelter, they got protection, they got safety. It's very much Dawn of the Dead. So they're trying to implement a plan to get there, and every single panel, I'm just like hanging on by an emotional thread. I am just not okay when I read this book. I am devastated with worry and anxiety and anxiousness every time I see these beautiful purr kittens put in danger. So that means that the team is getting the job done. Feral continues to be ferociously awesome. Then we've got the Department of Truth, issue number 30. Y'all, Department of Truth, for the most part, is usually two people standing around talking, expositioning about something in the past. Department of Truth is about a government agency that understands the idea that consensus belief will literally change reality. If enough people believe that Bigfoot is a real entity, Bigfoot will coalesce into existence, and there you go. So you got this government agency for the US, you got a government agency for Russia. They're kind of been fighting this battle all throughout the Cold War of trying to determine the narrative of human history in the present now moment. Really interesting stuff, right? And usually most of these issues focus in on revelations about how some conspiracy theory or some kind of paranormal event is related to the Department of Truth. It feels like a lot of that's been pushed aside. We've got a lot of stuff set up. We got our characters in the right places, and this issue is the movement issue, the calm before the storm, if you will. James Tynion is doing a great job of crafting this, and what's happening is you got our dude who's like new into the Department of Truth, you got the person who's been training him, you got Lee Harvey Oswald, who's the leader of the Department of Truth. All three of them are making big time decisions finally here in the pages of issue number 30 that is going to progress this story forward and possibly into its final act. I don't know how long the series is intended to go, but it feels like we're in the end game after this issue, or at least in the big chunk of the final half. I love this book, and Martin Simmons on the artwork, y'all. It's glorious, it's majestic, it's mysterious, it's ethereal. It is everything this book needs to be, and at the same time, beautiful. Just absolutely gloriously beautiful. Department of Truth, issue number 30. That's one of my favorite ongoing books right now. Then we got Universal Monsters, The Mummy, issue number 3. This book is written and illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. Now, I'm not super familiar with her work outside of this book. I was on the retailer conference call with her when she was talking about this book, and I could get from that she really understood the movie The Mummy. This, of course, is based on the Boris Karloff Mummy movie directed by Karl Freund from like 1932 or something like that. I love that movie. We just recently covered it on PCP Movie Night for Horror Fest, so you should check out that. Plus, I did a whole series of Mummy Monday live commentaries, including the first Mummy movie. But this is a movie just like the Dracula and the Frankenstein books by James Tynion and Martin Simmons and Michael Walsh, respectively. It is a story set within the story of the movie. This focuses more on the character of Helen, what it feels like to be possessed by the reincarnated spirit of Imhotep's lost princess, Anakasamun, right? So that's super freaking cool. I love that vibe to it, and the art. The art is not what I would have picked for a Mummy project. I would have wanted something with a little bit more heavy usage of black, something with a little bit more grit and texture to it. So it's an odd, I'm going to tell you, it's an odd choice for art for this project, but it's kind of working for me because of the attention to detail of the character of Helen and how the story fits so perfectly within the narrative of The Mummy. So I'm still enjoying it. 3 issues in. We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, issue number 3, a new Matthew Rosenberg book with artwork by Stefano Landini, Jason Wordie on the coloring, Hassan Osman El Howe on the lettering. Y'all, I'm loving this freaking book. I'm serious. 3 issues in, I might be bold enough to say this might be my favorite Matthew Rosenberg book I've ever read. I read issue number 1 and I liked it. Issue number 2, all right, you're continuing that momentum. You're strengthening it up a little bit, tightening the story, the character dynamics, the concept, the interest and engagement of the reader. And then you get to issue number 3, and I am sold on this book. More than sold. This book has a sense of fun about it, even though it deals with some serious-ish subject matter at times. It does have a sense of fun about it, and it plays with humor exceptionally well. The story is this. It's about a young woman who has just now found out that her father was a big-time supervillain. Well, one of the other supervillains in their version of the Legion of Doom or whatever infiltrated this retired villain's outpost and wound up the attack resulted in killing him. But he has transferred his consciousness to this robot. The robot is the only thing out there trying to protect his daughter. The daughter doesn't quite know that the robot is her dad. Nobody else knows, only we as the reader. But it is freaking fun. The art is great. The story is great. The pace, the dialogue. This is pitch perfect as far as dialogue goes. We're taking everyone down with this. Issue number 3 was pretty exceptional. You'll Do Bad Things, issue number 3. This is one. It's by Tyler Boss, with artwork by Adriano Turtolucci, San Otsman on the lettering here. This is a book that I'm not liking as much as I want to. Like, I really do want to like this book. It's got a beautiful smell, but it's not the smell of the week. But You'll Do Bad Things is about a writer. He wrote a nonfiction book about a serial killer that kind of helped get the serial killer caught, but he doesn't want to write something dark like that now, so he wants to write like a romance, but he can't. He just keeps writing like another horrific serial killer murder, and everything he writes starts happening in real life. It's taken 3 issues to get that concept clear in my mind. I was picking up on that in issue number 1. In issue number 2, I was like, wait, maybe that's not what's going on? Now it is what's going on in 3 because it gets acknowledged finally. This has got a weird structure. Not that it's necessarily clunky, but it's just not quite hooking its talons into me the way I feel like it should. It is rendered perfectly fine as far as the art goes, and the lettering is top-notch, and I mean, the dialogue is fine and things like that, but there's just something wonky about the structure of this story or just the delivery of the concept of the story. 3 issues in, it's a little shaky for me. It's a little shaky. Then we got Bitterroot, the next movement, issue number 3. I love Bitterroot, so I'm excited for it to come back. We take the family, we age them up a little bit. We deal with some of the kids now. We're set in the 60s back in Mississippi. We're dealing with the civil rights movement in the midst of another Genu outbreak. I love Green's artwork. I love Walker and Hogan's story, and they're writing that story with Green. The 3 dudes that are responsible for this book are passionate about it, and that passion comes across. They're passionate about the social awareness of their book. They're passionate about the excitability of their book, and they're passionate about comics and how to tell a story through this visual medium in particular. Bitterroot, next movement, issue number 3. Freaking awesome. All right, then we got Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 43. It's an alright issue with Gunslinger Spawn. It's okay. Gunslinger is teamed up with this former angel, another angel, some dude named Godsend or something like that. They should be enemies, but they're teaming up to try to like save this dude's daughters, find out more about Javi's past and what's happened there, and it's all right. Like, honestly, Gunslinger has lost a lot of its mojo since Brett Booth has left the book, and I think that's a little bit tragic because I'm starting to find myself going more and more like, do I really want to keep up with this book? Do I? I mean, cardstock cover $2.99. Todd's still doing that for the time being. I know it's changing in a couple months, but that being said, I mean, I don't mind following along, but Gunslinger's been a little weak here lately. Then we got Youngblood Deluxe, issue number 2 with a foil cover. Love that foil cover. This is a reprinting of the redone and reinvigorated Youngblood revival. Joe Casey came in and kind of tightened up some of the script, some of the plot elements, made it all feel more cohesive and connect as a whole. So I have not ever read this iteration or this version of the Youngblood story. I've only read the original. So it's really interesting to see this book told that way. So it's interesting. And if you're a Youngblood fan and you never pick these ones up, definitely check them out. It's definitely worth it for the Foil cover for me, yeah, $5.99 to rebuy Youngblood issue number 2 with foil cover, but it's also the first appearance of Prophet being reprinted and reproduced, so there you go. All right, over at DC, we've got Mr. Terrific Year 1, issue number 1. Why? Because Mr. Terrific's about to be a movie star, hopefully, on the screen with Superman in the movie Superman, right? So I like the character Mr. Terrific, and I remember when Mr. Terrific was first introduced in the pages of Jeff Johns' JSA, and all I remember about the character was super smart, had a crazy company, cutting-edge inventor, and his wife had died, and now he's sad and alone, and he goes on to a mission of fighting crime. That's what I remember, right? What I love about this, and this acts as a traditional Year 1 story where it tells the origin of Mr. Terrific, but it doesn't rehash any of that I already know. It's telling me stuff that I didn't know that took place after his wife had died. What happens in between the death of Mr. Terrific's wife and him becoming Mr. Terrific? Has this story been told before? Has it been revealed somewhere in a JSA issue I'm forgetting, or a one-shot or a spin-off or something I'm forgetting? Maybe, but it's all new to me, and it frickin' works. It works really good. This is an incredibly solid comic. So it's written by a cat that I am not familiar with their work, Al Letson. Valentine Delandro on the artwork. Edwin Galman does a little bit of a framing sequence, but the art is solid. It's got gravity and weight. It's got structure to it. It's clean. It's concise. It's clear. And so is the story. This was a really well done story. If you're interested in Mr. Terrific and how he became who he is in full form when he shows up in JSA or when he shows up in that Superman movie, jump in here. It's really cool. If you're not familiar with this character, want to learn more about him, there you go. And it's not just like a tie-in to the movie, because Mr. Terrific is a very heavily spotlighted character right now in Justice League Unlimited and the all of the DC All-In stuff, so it also has some tie-ins to that. Ooh, that's interesting. It's like they know what they're doing. Mr. Terrific Year 1, though, pretty solid comic. Then we get Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 3. Y'all, if Dennis Camp didn't have Assorted Crisis Events issue number 3 out this week, this might be the pick of the week. It's written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Javier Rodriguez. Beautiful, brilliant coloring by Javier Rodriguez as well. The premise of Absolute Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter is not an actual Martian who has physically come to Earth. In the original story, he's a Martian who physically comes to Earth. This detective, John Jones, dies. Jean Jones, the Martian, takes his spot, right? He takes on his identity. That's what's going on there. Here, John Jones is alive and well. Well, maybe not so well, because he is dealing with a lot of problems from recent cases, right? And at the same time, he's now possessed by an ultra-terrestrial, otherly dimensional entity known as the Martian Mindfucker, or the Martian Mindhunter, or Manhunter. Not really Martian, but Martian's like the language, like Martian's like the word that's best. It's such a cool book. He gets possessed by this intelligence. He can start reading people's minds, and there is a white Martian, right, out there on the loose who wants to bring humanity to its end or cause all kinds of chaos and destruction. This is one of the first direct attempts to go after the White Martian and find out more about it. The art is cool. It is a psychedelic noir. I don't know of many comic books that are, if any, maybe Shade, the Changing Man has elements of it, but not quite to the effect that this book has. This book is stellar. It's golden. It's my favorite Absolute book, 3 issues in. And we got a really cool variant from Ian Bertram, who you'll know as the artist of Little Bird, Precious Metal, and other works and other great covers. But that cover by Ian Bertram right there, I'm going to give it cover of the week. Also from DC, we get Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 8. A new story starts here. That's right. We had the first initial arc, then we had a 2-issue side quest that was still very much integrated into the whole of the narrative and very important to the characterization and the progress of the character work. So that was freaking cool. And now we got Hayden Sherman back on the art. I'm a huge fan of Hayden Sherman. I think their work is amazing, and it's no exception here. You get excellent panel design, excellent page composition. The way the story is told is really solid. Some really cool, interesting layouts, man. 100%. The story is good, too. It starts kind of, now that we've introduced Absolute Wonder Woman to this absolute gateway city, it's time now to kind of step back a little bit and start building out the world in the real world that this absolute Wonder Woman, this Diana, is going to exist in. So that's what we do here. We introduce Veronica Gale, for instance, who's kind of like the Lex Luthor for Wonder Woman. She was a character created, I believe, I'm pretty sure, I know, by Greg Rucka, and I loved that character. The Greg Rucka Wonder Woman run, the first one, not the second one, but the second one's dope too. Greg Rucka's had 2 separate runs on Wonder Woman. One back in like the early 2000s, one during DC Rebirth. Yeah, and it was good stuff, good solid stuff. DC Rebirth, was it DC? Yeah, it was DC Rebirth. Yeah, totally was. That was a really cool story. Anyway, Absolute Wonder Woman, though, it's great. I just wish that we had a big, giant moment here, right? We are also introduced to a new version of Dr. Poison, and it's pretty interesting and cool. So there is stuff that's set up here that will be a little bit more explosive soon, but I could use a little bit more boisterousness here in some of the story and the art for issue number 8. That being said, it's a great setup, and they're building out that world a little bit more. Then we got Batman issue 160, the third part of Hush, volume 2, and I'm not liking it, y'all. Like, I know that I'm not the biggest fan of the original Batman Hush, but on Rockin' Robbie Live, we've been doing issue by issue, kind of going through the series, and honestly, it's not as bad as I remembered it, at least not in those early issues, and the artwork is solid, right? Here, though, Hush 2, it feels sloppy. It feels sloppy and clunky in the narrative, in the story. There's these new characters being introduced. Batman is coming up against Hush, coming back. He's trying to kill Joker. Jason Todd's involved. 3 issues in, it's already way more convoluted than Hush was by issue number 3. But whatever, let's not compare. But let's look at the artwork, too. It feels sloppy. It feels rushed. This is not the Jim Lee that I know and love. You got some decent panels here, but you also got a lot of panels where you're like, bruh, that was rushed, or did you have somebody else do that for you? The art was not there for me. The story is not there for me. I'm going to continue through with Batman Hush just because I'm interested in seeing what develops and what happens, but all in all, right now, I'm not digging it. Another book I'm not digging right now is Justice League Unlimited. I am not on board with this We Are Yesterday story. I was at first, right? Justice League Unlimited comes in after DC All In, this big game-changing moment. The Justice League is finally back. They've expanded their roster. They've expanded their mission. It's huge, it's big, it's cool, and there's a villain organization out there called Inferno, and that was built up in those first few issues, plus there's a traitor within the midst of the Justice League. All that was cool, especially with the Dan Mora artwork. But then, the reveal of who Inferno is happened, and it was the Legion of Doom from the past. Cool concept and idea, but what it's done now is just led to a crossover between Batman Superman World's Finest, which I think is not that great of a book right now since Dan Mora has left the title. And I feel like we are completely undercutting the momentum that Mark Waid and Dan Mora established in the pages of Justice League Unlimited by doing this rather forced crossover. The reveal was exciting, but the execution post-reveal has not been. And this issue, yeah, it's got some cool moments, but at the same time, I'm like, man, by issue 7 of a new Justice League run, we should be, like, kind of getting into the groove of a story, not feeling like we're tying up something and forcing a crossover. So, it's a little whack. Anyway, Justice League Unlimited number 7. Superman number 26, a great issue of Superman. You got some interesting things going on. First of all, Superwoman, Lois, has seemingly lost her powers, so we're dealing with the after effects of that. Superman has been poisoned by some red kryptonite. It goes all the way back to some of the earliest days of the Josh Williamson run. I also understand and love how Josh Williamson understands and appreciates history of Superman. And I'm not just talking about old school history. I'm talking about more modern history. I am talking like 25 years ago, but that's cool too. The only problem with this book is you got Eddie Barrows on the artwork, and then it switches artists towards the end, and it's very jarring and inconsistent. And yeah, you know, what's done is done. You can't really do too much for it, but I don't like it when stuff like that happens. So there you go. Then we got Green Lantern issue number 23. Jeremy Adams, just like Josh Williamson on Superman, understands and appreciates and honors the stories set before. In particular, we're talking about Day of Judgment, right? A story written by Jeff Johns where he was kind of, maybe he didn't know his future yet, but he was kind of setting Hal Jordan up to at least be a hero again. He had Hal Jordan's spirit get attached to the Spectre, right? So here we got Hal going to hell to help solve a mystery. All right, the camera cut off. Where do we leave off? I'm assuming we left off at Hal Jordan goes to hell to help uncover some of the mystery that's been deepening in the pages of Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern run. He comes up across Gnort and Spectre, the Spirit of Vengeance. Spectre wants Hal Jordan back. So I love that it ties into that old school stuff. We're bringing that back up, but in a new and interesting kind of way, and it does help cement some things for the character of Hal Jordan, sets up some stuff potentially for the Spectre in the future as well. I like that. And then you got the Kyle Rayner, Superboy stuff, just great space opera stuff. And then introduction of a new emotional spectrum core, kind of interesting stuff. Green Lantern's been great. We also got this variant cover by Mark Spears, and that's a pretty cool cover from my buddy Mark. So Mark, you're still killing it, bruh. All right, then we got Peacemaker Presents Vigilante Eagly double feature. This is co-written of sorts by James Gunn. He is listed as the story consultant. The first story is written by Tim Seeley with artwork by Mitch Gerrits. It is a vigilante story. Peacemaker is dipping out, going on vacation. He lies about that to Vigilante. Vigilante thinks he's been kidnapped. Vigilante tries to solve the kidnapping of Peacemaker, and it leads him into hijinks and shenanigans. Then you got the second story that is written by Rex Ogle with artwork by Matteo Loli, and it is Peacemaker on vacation, or trying to go on vacation, because he winds up getting in the midst of a new chaotic mode of hijinks and shenanigans, I guess. I don't know. But it's fun. It's set in the world of the Peacemaker show. It's got that humor. It doesn't have the heart of the show, but it does have the humor and some of the charm. So if you're a fan of that show, definitely check this out. Let's jump over to Marvel. And from Marvel, we have Giant Size X-Men issue number 1. Now, they're doing a series of these Giant Size X-Men one-shots to celebrate 50 years of Giant Size X-Men. It's been 50 years since that initial Giant Size X-Men number 1 that introduced Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and put Wolverine and Banshee and Sunfire and Thunderbird and those characters all together into a team, right? So we're doing that by having Miss Marvel somehow get flung back in time to the days of Giant Size X-Men. And there's going to be a series of these. So the basic premise is this. An older version of Legion is going through the X-Men timeline trying to stop something from happening in the future. Somehow, out of nowhere, Kamala Khan gets whisked back into the past along with him, and she's there to team up with the X-Men when they go and investigate the Krakoan Island for the first time in Giant Size X-Men. And the story continues into Giant Size X-Men Dark Phoenix, Giant Size X-Men Age of Apocalypse, Giant Size X-Men House of M. And it's just this series of one-shots that's going to tell the story of Miss Marvel time-traveling through big, pivotal moments in X-Men history and becoming an active part of that. Yeah, I know. I roll. Don't worry. It reads that way, too. It's written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly with artwork by Adam Kubert. And it's okay, but it's not that great. It doesn't feel super necessary or super needed. It is more of a focus on Kamala Khan. I guess, yeah, she's a mutant now. There is this weird bit where she goes back in time and Cyclops remembers her from when he was a teenager and he got flung into the future. That doesn't make any sense because their minds got erased. Their memories got erased when they went back in the past. Otherwise, if he remembers, maybe it's just because he saw her. Maybe they'll explain it. I don't know. This one, though, didn't really work for me. Felt a little long. Felt a little long-winded. Didn't really feel that important or that exciting. So it didn't do much for me. But then we got What If Donald Duck Became Iron Man. And this book was pretty fun. Just like all the other What If Disneys Became Marvels, that's what they're doing, right? We've had a few of them already. If you've read those and you don't like them, don't buy this one. You're not going to like this one. But if you read those and you like them and they have a certain amount of charm and intrigue to you, then check this one out, right? Donald gets kidnapped by the Beagle Boys. They force him to build this, drill so they can drill into Uncle Scrooge's money vault. He uses the technology to form a suit of armor, become Iron Man. Or, my bad, Iron Duck. That's what goes on, and it's fine, and it's decent. The only problem is, I think the coloring's a little off here. Colors are a little bit off here. Lucio Ruvidoti. I don't know, there's something off about the colors. There's, too much, shading on it. I don't know, it gives it this weird kind of dirty feel to it that I don't think works. I would little bit brighter on the colors, I think it'll work better. But the story was fine. I mean, it ain't trying to change your life. I think we've talked about that book enough, but I did like it. Then we got Venom Original Sin, issue number 1. It's a one-shot comic, $6.99, $7. But there's a lot of story in here, a lot of meat to the bone. It's written by Steve Orlando, and one of the obnoxious things is that this is one of those Marvel digital first things that's meant to, like, scroll vertically through your phone. So every time they do those and they have to adapt them into a comic book form, it just has, like, a wonky composition artistically, so it doesn't really quite work on the page as well as I guess it would work scrolling through a phone. That being said, it's written by Steve Orlando. I didn't have much hope for this. I wasn't very excited, and honestly, it was a decent enough story. It's about these two different versions of Eddie Brock Venom at the end of time. One of them goes back into time to try to stop Eddie from ever becoming Venom. He makes things worse. Then he has to go back and try to fix it. That's basically it. It's nothing really exciting. It's not essential. It's not tied into anything going on in the pages of Venom. But if you're a super hardcore Venom head, check it out. What I appreciated the most was Jack-O-Lantern. When I first started reading Spider-Man comics, Jack-O-Lantern was in almost every single issue. So I have an affection for that character. So it was cool to see him here. It was cool. I liked it. All right, then we got Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 17. No Marco Cicchetto here on the artwork, but we do have Messina, who is the typical fill-in artist, and the art is decent. It's fine, but the story is great as well. So we just recently had the crazy revelation that somebody we thought was dead is actually still alive, and the identity of Mysterio. Well, that's freaking interesting. So we're continuing to follow up on that. No Peter and his family stuff in this issue. It's all diving into the return of that character. I'm not trying to spoil it right now, in case you're a couple issues behind. But it's more about the return of that character and the identity of Mysterio and how that connects. It's interesting. It's cool. And the story is moving forward. It's very intriguing. It's very freaking compelling. It's fascinating, rather, some of the differences that are happening in the narrative structure of Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man. Excuse me. So I like this issue, even though we don't have Cicchetto on the artwork. It gets the job done. So there you go. Then we got Daredevil Cold Day in Hell issue number 2. Charles Soule, Steve McNiven. First issue made the pick of the week. It's basically the Dark Knight Returns for Daredevil. Have they done a Dark Knight Returns for Daredevil before? Yes. Yes, very much they have. However, they're doing it again. But Steve McNiven gets the job. He is honoring, he's mimicking, not mimicking, but he's honoring the work of Frank Miller on Dark Knight Returns. He's honoring the style of Frank Miller, including his work on Daredevil, and so is Charles Soule, right? So Daredevil he's old, he's lost his powers, he's been caught in a recent explosion that has kick-started those powers back. Bullseye is a big bad, and he's making a big push. You got Elektra in this issue, amazing use of the 16-grid panel, but Steve McNiven is still doing his own thing within that, but at the same time, using a looser style that's very reminiscent of some of the work of Frank Miller. So if you're a Frank Miller fan, Daredevil fan, Batman Dark Knight Returns fan, this has something for all of that together. Most Frank Miller fans are fans of Dark Knight Returns and Frank Miller's work on Daredevil. Let's just be honest, okay? But there's elements here that really will make you happy if that's what you're into. Daredevil Cold Day in Hell issue number 2. Not as solid as issue number 1, but still pretty strong. Then we got Uncanny XMen issue number 15. This was just an alright issue of Uncanny XMen. This story hasn't been my favorite, though I do love having David Marquez back on the artwork. The artwork is super solid here. The story is interesting enough, I guess. It's more of a spotlight on the kids, the outliers, and also building up the idea that Rogue is finding out that Gambit is withholding secrets from her. That's not going to go so well, but it's nice to have David Marquez back on the artwork. Uncanny X-Men has been a strong, consistent book. This is no exception. This story, though, in particular, this issue, just hasn't vibed with me, but I do still like it overall. Then we got Cable, Love and Chrome, issue number 5, written by David Pepose, with artwork by Mike Henderson. I've really come around on the artwork. I think this final issue of this miniseries is Henderson's best issue yet. And David Pepose wraps this story up splendidly well. 100%. Cable Love and Chrome is Cable in a love story that doesn't ever feel forced or rushed. It feels very natural and organic. And this story has gone through peaks and valleys. And it ends at the highest peak yet. Really sad and tragic, yet profoundly heroic and inherently a perfect story for the character of Cable. David Pepose and Mike Henderson have done a super solid job here with Love and Chrome. This final issue was fantastic. It really, really was. All right, then we got Predator versus Spider-Man issue number 2. Benjamin Percy, Marcelo Ferreira. I loved issue number 1. I think the Predator versus Wolverine book was okay. The Predator versus Black Panther book was good. This book, though, so far has been super exciting for me. I was surprised at how violent it gets in the first issue. That continues on here. The Predator in this book is a predator who likes to pull the faces off of the victims that he's hunting and wear them. That's frickin' sweet. That is absolutely sweet. And so if there's a heat wave in New York City, there's a power blackout, and Spider-Man's just trying to keep it together. Mary Jane is gone. Where's she at? She's being hunted by the Predator in a train full of Predator victims. It's pretty freaking cool, y'all. This has more of an edge to it than I thought it would, and it surprises me. All right, from Dynamite Comics, we got Thundercats Lost, issue number 3. Ed Brisson's doing some solid work at Dynamite right now, in particular with Silverhawks, but don't sleep on Thundercats Lost. So Thundercats Lost is a book about a group of Thundercats that show up to Third Earth before the Thundercats in the main Thundercats book by Declan Shalvey, right? So they show up, they crash land, most of the people on that ship die, and there's a handful of surviving Thundercats that now have to make their way in this new Earth. Really freaking cool stuff. Very exciting. And issue number 3 really starts solidifying some of the relationships and the conflicts and the dynamics between these characters. It gives us a nice one-and-done story that's set in the overall vibe and flow of the series. I've been liking it. If you're liking what they're doing at Dynamite with Thundercats, do not sleep on Thundercats Lost. Is it essential? It doesn't feel like it's essential to the main line and the main story, but it's still worth checking out, and the art, pretty freaking solid too. All right, then we got the Hercuoids issue number 4 by Tom Snagoski, and is that Duncan, or Craig Rousseau. I'm liking Hercuoids. This is making, on my Amazon wish list, I have the Hercuoids complete set, and I think I need to get that as soon as I can, right? Like, because I want to dive back into the world of Hercuoids, having talked to Tom Snagoski about this book, his passion for this book, his passion for this property, for these characters. And he said, in one of the conversations we had, that he was going to take some issues to focus in on some of the strange creatures that make up the Hercuoids. This one is focusing in on, what's the character's name? Is it Zok, the dragon. This is a story about the dragon, and there's a lot of silent issues in a way. It's weird. There's a lot of textless pages, I should say. But it's the story of this kid doing like an initiatory hunting ritual for his tribe or something, and then the dragon gets involved in that, but is also going through her own initiatory ritual. Really cool stuff. If you're a Hercuoids fan, definitely check it out. I think you're going to enjoy it. Then from Boom Studios, we got Minor Arcana issue number 7, the start of a new arc, and I really feel like this book has solidified its course and its direction, and I am completely hooked in, right? I was already engaged with the concept. It's about a woman who goes back to the small town that she ran away from when she was a teenager. She goes back. Her mom's a psychic. She's dying of cancer. She has to take care of that, but she doesn't have a great relationship with her mother, and she may have some hitherto unlocked and inherent psychic powers that are starting to come across in a big way, and she is refusing that call to adventure right now, right? So the story is really good. The town has become a character, and that's something that we see in a lot of Jeff Lemire's work. It's kind of like Twin Peaks-esque as far as the town and the characters and of the town becoming very important, but at the same time just make up a whole vibe for the series and where the direction going forward. So that's really getting done here. The only problem here for me is that we got a new artist. It's Letzia Kadonichi. Jeff Lemire had been doing this, and the artist is not Jeff Lemire, and that's fine. I understand. Jeff Lemire's got a very unique and distinctive style. But that was the only thing kind of pulling me out just a little bit. But honestly, it wasn't really a hinder to the enjoyment or the execution of the book. So it was still fine. Yeah. All right. So from Oni Press, we got The Goddamn Tragedy. This is written by Chris Condon with artwork by Sean Kuruniru. Sean Lee on the lettering. Artwork is great. Story's fine too. It's inspired by the Donner family. It's about this family that goes off striking out in the Old West to California to find gold. The dad of the family gets this. The dad of the family gets this map from somebody he meets on the road with a shortcut, but it's through a cursed mountain. Of course, he takes his family through the cursed mountain. Turns out the mountain's cursed with some stuff, but it's based heavily on the legend of the Donner family, and it was a nice, solid, self-contained, one-and-done story. It's not going to continue on. This is the whole thing. It is $6.99, but there's a lot of pages, and the art is really freaking cool, and at times very spooky and haunting, I should say. From Whatnot/Massive Publishing, we have Detective Kaiju issue number 1. It says Quested right there. I don't know if this is part of the Quested universe. I don't read that book, but Detective Kaiju, I wanted to give it a shot. Love that Frank Miller Sin City homage for the cover right there. So that's pretty cool. It's about this kaiju who shows up. People hate him. They're fighting him. There's framing sequence of that in his past, but in the modern day, he is a down on his luck, noirish detective trying to solve some mysteries. It's all right. We've seen tons of stuff done like this. This doesn't do anything to make itself feel unique or different or exceptional. The artwork by Kit Wallace is pretty solid. I liked it. It was fun enough. It was okay. It was decent. But for a story that's playing with tropes in a way that's been played with before, it doesn't really do anything new to distinguish itself apart from the rest. I would recommend Spencer and Locke, for instance. Who Are the Power Pals? Here with issue number 3. It's a pretty solid issue of Who Are the Power Pals. I've been very surprised at how engaged I am, not just with this story and this concept, but these characters. It's about these two friends of sorts who were part of this superhero TV show back in the 90s called The Power Pals. It was super hyped. It was a big deal. And then halfway through the first season, it got canceled. They are security guards. They lose their jobs, but they're security jobs on a studio lot. They lose their jobs, but they find all their old props. So they decide to become the Power Pals again, and it just doesn't go as planned. Let's just say that, right? It's a very funny book, but in issue number 3, they really get into the characters and this rift, this fissure that's happening between the two. Because one maybe wants to do the right thing. One is just kind of looking for fame and kind of setting things up for that. So there's a lot of interesting things here. This one wasn't as snappy, witty, and funny as the previous 2 issues, but it's because it was anchoring in to the gravity of the situation between these two friends. So I love that it took that approach in issue number 3. The art is solid. The story is solid. I'm liking Who Are the Power Pals. You should check it out. It's an undersung book. We also got Black Hammer Spiral City issue number 6. A lot of pieces in this book that have felt very disparate are coming together to make this book feel more cohesive, more whole, and more directional full. Directional full? That's not a fucking word. Anyway, Black Hammer Spiral City, I like the art. The art's not going to be for everybody, but I like the graphicness of it. I like the weight of these characters. A lot of it is pulling itself together in this issue. It's sad, it's melancholy, it's navel-gazy, it's sad dad, it's Jeff Lemire. And I'm here for it, so there you go. All right, from Mad Cave, we got The Pale Knight, issue number 1. This is a book written by Pete Milligan with artwork by Val Rodriguez. You will remember Val Rodriguez as the artist on Deep Roots, which was written by Dan Waters. Art is solid, art is fine, story is okay. It really doesn't get to the hook of the story until towards the end, and that was a little bit more engaging, but it's set during the Crusades, and there is a knight that was fighting for God and the church and Christianity who is filled with remorse and regret, goes back home. The plague has been ravaging everything. He's just trying to get back home to his family to see and make sure his wife and kid are okay. It gave me some Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven type vibes to it at times. There is a twist at the end. I guess it was in the solicitation, but he comes across death itself, and makes a pact with death And I'm sure that's going to go well for him. We'll see. Also from Mad Cave, we have Crush Depth, issue number 3. This is a really interesting sci-fi story about a team of scientists stuck on a nuclear submarine at the bottom of the ocean. The end of the world has happened. They can't surface. The air is poisonous. They're stuck down there. And all of a sudden, people are going crazy on the ship. There's monsters appearing. It's got vibes of Michael Crichton's Sphere. That, by the way, is my favorite Michael Crichton novel, is Sphere. I love that. The movie, not so much. It's decent enough. But the book, I love Michael Crichton's work. I really, really do. This gives me that vibe. Great solid characters, interesting dynamics and relationships between them, and a really intriguing yet spooky mystery at the bottom of the ocean. That's Crush Depth. All right, from Vault Comics, we have Lilith, issue number 4. I love Colin Howe, I believe it's Colin Howe. I really like his work. I like his artwork. I think this book has been cool. I don't think the book delivers on the promise that it's set up, because it's meant to be a very sexy, erotic book, and it has elements of that, but it's not really over the top with that. It's about a woman named Lilith. She's a supermodel. She's also a demon who likes to eat people. She's trying to figure out how to go back home. There's a book. She's manipulating people. People trying to figure her out. That's what's going on. I love the use of color. Everything is black, white, and red, and shades in the mixed between those colors here in Lilith, issue number 4. So I like the art, but the story, I don't know. It's like we're on issue number 4, and I feel like we should have more stuff happening. That's just me. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about Lilith? All right, then we got Return of the Living Dead, issue number 4 from American Mythology. Great Mark Spears cover. It's my favorite Mark Spears cover this month so far. That's great. I love that he's been doing these covers for Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead is a property I really like. I read the first issue of this. It wasn't quite my vibe. I skipped out on 2 and 3. 4 was coming out. I said, you know what? I've been picking them up anyway because they're covers by Mark Spears. American Mythology does some cool stuff with properties I really like. Let me go through and check it out again. And yeah, it's zany, and it's not taking itself very seriously. But let's be honest, does the original Return of the Living Dead take itself very seriously? No. But at the same time, I love that film. Is this book as good or comparable at all? No, not in the slightest. But it does have a sense of zany fun. I didn't like the cartooniness of the artwork in the first issue, but once I let that go and I got caught back up on the series, I can enjoy the energy that it's trying to bring. All right, one more thing. From Image Comics, from Skybound, we got the first Transformers Compendium. Look at the size of that. Yes, I know that they just crowdfunded on Kickstarter. Highest crowdfunded total of a comic book Kickstarter ever, I believe. But they did some hardcover versions of these, but they're releasing the soft covers. They've already done the first G.I. Joe. Now we get the first Transformers. And y'all, this is beautiful. $65. It's Transformers 1 through 46 and Headmasters 1 through 4. Even though it's so thick, there's nothing lost. Like, you can read every single bit of it. That spine seems very tight. I don't know what it's going to be like if you spend a year going through it. Look at that Triptychon right there. I don't know what it's going to be like if you spent like a year thumbing through this and reading it and everything. But this is a good, affordable way to get this content. There's a couple covers. A new one from Daniel Warren Johnson. I got that old school one by Bill Sienkiewicz. And yes, it's printed on newsprint, so it gets the smell of the week. It smells like value and nostalgia right there. So that is out this week. I wanted to let you know. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. Let's recap. Return of the Living Dead. Zany fun. Not as good as the original. Doesn't have to be. Lilith, losing a couple steps for me, but the artwork is still solid. Crush Depth reminds me of a Michael Crichton novel in the best way possible. The Pale Knight was okay. It solidified itself at the end. We shall see how it develops. Black Hammer, Spiral City, Sad Dad, Jeff Lemire, superhero stuff, and yes, I'm here for it. Who Are the Power Pals loses a little bit of the wit to bring up more of the nuance of the relationship between these two main characters. Detective Kaiju's got a great Frank Miller homage. Other than that, it's just kind of okay. The Goddamn Tragedy has some great artwork and a really solid self-contained story inspired by the Donner family. Minor Arcana has a new artist. That threw me off just a little bit, but the characters and the story and the world are solidifying issue to issue. Hercuoids is a spot on the fire, or the laser beam shooting dragon, and it was awesome. And if you're a fan of Hercuoids, you should like that book. Thundercats Lost is not essential to your understanding of the main Thundercats book, but do not miss out on this book because it's fun. Predator vs. Spiderman has a brutal edge to it that I was not expecting. Cable Love and Chrome was a perfect ending to this Cable romance story through time and only the way David Pepose could tell. Uncanny XMen is okay. It's a consistent, solid book, but this issue in particular just didn't quite work for me. Daredevil Cold Day in Hell wasn't as slam-bang fantastic as issue number 1, but it was really great and a solid honor to the work of Frank Miller. Then we got Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 17, no Marco Cicchetto. However, the story is very intriguing, and we get more revelations about the person behind the bowl of Mysterio and other things. Venom Original Sin, wasn't expecting much out of it, but I actually kind of liked it. What If Donald Duck Became Iron Man is dumb fun. What did you expect? I mean, that's, we all know what we're getting into. Giant Size X-Men, Kamala Khan, time traveling randomly through important pivotal moments in X-Men history. I guess. Peacemaker, Vigilante, if you're a fan of the show, check it out. It doesn't have the heart of the show, but it does have the humor. Then we got Green Lantern, Jeremy Adams doing a consistently solid job on this title. This issue is no exception. Great Mark Spears cover right there. Superman, art changes at the end. It feels very abrupt. Aside from that, Josh Williamson continuing to build on things he's been building since day one, and even things from other runs before. Justice League Unlimited, this forced tie-in to World's Finest with We Are Yesterday is run its course for me. It's killing the momentum of that book. Batman Hush 2 is sloppy, clunky, and not worth it, but you're going to buy it anyway. Absolute Wonder Woman was solid. I could have used a little bit more of a explosive, impactful, boisterous moment here, but it gets the next job, or the next story going with a decent job done. Ian Bertram's cover for Absolute Martian Manhunter number 3 is the cover of the week, but the book itself is absolutely fantastic. Detective noir, ultra-terrestrial craziness. Sign me up. It's right there, made for me. Mr. Terrific Year 1 was a super solid Year 1 story. Youngblood Deluxe, reprinting the first appearance of Prophet with this new Joe Casey. It wasn't new, I guess 20 years ago or something, but Joe Casey kind of making all the inconsistencies kind of iron out. Gunslinger Spawn was kind of mad this week. Bitterroot, Next Movement was awesome. I love the passion behind that book. You'll Do Bad Things hasn't solidified itself yet, but We're Taking Everyone Down on Us definitely has, and this book was fantastic. Universal Monsters, The Mummy, I'm loving the approach here with the art and, of course, with the story set within the story. It gets the job done. Department of Truth is getting ready for what feels to be the final act or the final half, something like that. Feral does what Feral does, which is make me anxious for these damn cats every time. Great homage cover to Jason Lives right there. Hyde Street, Ivan Reese wasn't here. That hindered it just a little bit, but it ends the first arc in exceptional fashion and sets up what is to come. Then we got Void Rivals doing some really interesting things with the character of Skuxoid, and the Junkians are there. Then G.I. Joe, Beachhead in the Energon universe. Nuff said. Dark Honor didn't really get the job done for me, but Assorted Crisis events got the job done, and more crisis level events, but from a real world rather mundane setting. And when I say mundane, I just mean not superpowers. Really great stuff here. Love this book. A lot of, this book is saying a lot. A lot of what it's saying is obvious. A lot of what it's saying isn't. But it's playing with those concepts and those themes exceptionally well. So that's what I read. That's what I'm digging. That's what I'm thinking. What are you reading? What are you digging? What are you thinking? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!